What's up, everybody? J.Heat Sports Media coming at y'all again with that fire as always. Spitting the hot topics and getting the sports conversation started. Need to talk about LeBron James, or G.O.A.T. James as some people call him. Okay, LeBron James, or G.O.A.T. James as some people call him. He's a guy that's in the conversation with Michael Jeffrey Jordan for the greatest basketball player of all time. And let me just explain the significance of being in the conversation with MJ. Kobe Bryant, another guy who was one of the all-time greats that also LeBron sometimes gets compared to, he was a carbon copy of Michael Jordan. He was not quite Mike, as I used to like to call him. He could do everything Mike did, as Mike said, copied all his moves, and people knew and could see all the passion, the heart, the clutch gene, everything in Kobe. But no matter what you saw, you knew he wasn't quite Mike. He was never in the conversation as the greatest player of all time. Questions were, was he the greatest Laker of all time? He played with Shaquille O'Neal, a guy who was the best in that generation while Kobe was in his peak as well, which already took Kobe out of that conversation, really. Even though Kobe was 1B to Shaq's 1A, not like a 1 and 2 like MJ and Pippen. Kobe was 1B, a legitimate stud, and at points in his career with Shaq, people started to question, is him and Shaq the two best players in basketball? So he was legit, but he had to break that team up essentially in order to prove he could win without Shaq, and still they had to put the right team around him, obviously, because he had some down years, and they had to use a similar formula, putting bigs around him, having Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum, the twin towers that they had, one that was there to do the dirty work in Bynum, the other one, Pau Gasol, that was the skill guy and get the buckets. Kind of using both of these guys to replace what they used to have in Shaquille O'Neal, and then Kobe do the rest. Now, Kobe was the lead dog in that situation. He definitely was the leader of the pack, but he's still winning those two chips on his own. People knowing that when he won with Shaq was the man. He just never really entered the conversation, and other than comparing him to Michael Jordan in the sense of he played like him. Fast forward to LeBron James. We are actually having the conversation about LeBron James being the greatest of all time, not just not just top 5, but the greatest. He's in that GOAT conversation over and over again. I see it on all social media platforms. You see it on mainstream media platforms. And he's earned it and deserved it, coming in with the pressure of a guy who was supposed to be the chosen one, the one who was supposed to be next, not just to be like Mike, but be better than Mike. And that's a tough thing to do, coming from a guy who is in his 40s, who saw Mike in his heyday. I gotta say, Mike was put on such a pedestal. I mean, Michael Jordan, the story of Michael, everybody knows. He's like Zeus, Thor, Hercules. He's a legend, and his story's been embellished a little bit, but a lot of it's got some truth to it. So I don't want to say he's complete fiction, because obviously Mike is outstanding and deserves to be considered the GOAT by a lot of people. But he was considered the GOAT by people before he even won his first title. This whole you need 6 rings to win a championship, 6 rings in order to be considered the greatest of all time, that happened after Mike. That was the bar set in order to be like Mike. Before Mike, they were saying he was the greatest thing ever. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, other sports media folks. People were admitting that this guy was it before he won his first chip. And you can go look that up if you don't believe me. That's a fact. And when he won those championships, it elevated him even more. When he first retired in 1993, he was considered the greatest of all time, still 2 chips behind Magic Johnson, and still not more MVPs rather than Bird and Magic, who both had 3 like him. But he was considered the GOAT. And then when he came back and won 3 more, it was just curtains for everybody. So Mike is a guy that sits on such a high perch that even talking about him, I come from an era where if you try to discuss anybody with Michael Jordan, you just don't even have that conversation. I remember I used to tell people in the early 2000s, like, we start talking about Mike and you bring up certain players, it's like, you're silly. Like, we ain't even gonna have this discussion. You're wrong. Why are we having this discussion? And even with Kobe Bryant, it was like, yeah, he looks a lot like him. He plays a lot like him. But come on, we all know that ain't Mike. And Mike was just better. He could do what Kobe did in most respects, but do it better. But with LBJ, we're having the conversation. There's things LBJ does better than Mike. There's things he's done that we question, could Mike have done it? As far as going to different teams and being able to just instantly make them better, to carry a 2007 Cavs team to the finals or a 2018 Cavs team to the finals, to be that Jordan and Pippen role all rolled into the same player. Now we can question, does he have the clutch gene that Michael had, that killer instinct where he gonna just get 60? You know, we never saw Mike drop 70, but we all think he could have if he needed to. We don't even think LBJ would be able to do that probably for some people. But when you look at his total game, his leadership on and off the court, it's worthy of a conversation, people. And because of that, LeBron James has already won. He just has. You can argue it down, say, well, he's not better than Mike. The fact that you're discussing it, LeBron James has won, because Michael Jordan was at a point before LeBron James had put in several years in the league that you didn't discuss people with Michael Jordan. That just didn't happen. All right, that's all the time I got. Y'all know what it is. G.O.A.T Sports Media. Remember to like, subscribe, or hit the bell. Let's comment and go back and forth. Help get these subscribers up, folks. Pass on the information if you liked it to other folks. Love talking about sports all day, every day. Remember, I'm on Instagram as well, at the JMU414 on Twitter. And of course, what's up, TikTok? I'll holler at y'all next time.